wisdom lies in the community, and that is asset-based. All we have to do is create the opportunity in tables like this for people to come together, think together, work together, and solve problems. Who was it that said it really is up to us to solve our own problems? Yes. Yes. It's true. But many times we don't get there aren't those lanes or doors that open up for us to be able to do that. And so fortunately, the organization that we worked for, NCDI, had a whole premise of how to do this work in community from the ground up. And so even the place where we stand here at Skillman Foundation, when we first started this work, they didn't know how to do this work this way because they had not done it before. And so part of the partnership development with folks like Ed Ignatius, Tanya Allen, Robert Thornton, all of the folks that are here under Carol Goss's direction and visioning, I think collectively we really came to believe that this could really happen. That it wasn't something where you would throw money at something and think it was going to change. Because that still happens too many places in our country with communities like Southwest Detroit or other places where you get this major grant and all this money comes in, and what does it create? What happens when you get a whole bunch of money at home?
Friday, you spend it.
Yeah. You spend it without a plan, you're fighting, who gets what? And so I worked in Indianapolis. I was the president of the Private Industry Council in Indianapolis. We did a lot of workforce work. And there was a national funder that wanted to help. And they chose a community that they wanted to help in. But they didn't do community building first. They led with the dollars, and the dollars completely annihilated the community. Nobody was talking to anybody. You had all this money, and you didn't see any impact because it was excitement about the money, but the relationships hadn't been developed, and the planning hadn't been done, the groundwork hadn't been laid. And so what Maria and the folks around this table and others that are not around this table, the folks you represent in your own areas, right? The groundwork has been laid. And now the Congress of Communities and the work that you do at this table, you're getting invited to a lot of different places. You're getting invited into places where people have resources. So diversifying your funding base, that's new, that's different. Because in this work, Skillman has been the funder. Now Skillman is becoming a funder. And that means we have to work differently because we have different funding partners. And it's a good thing because it helps us to sustain, over time. And this work can't stop because a funder decides they're not funding it anymore, whoever that might be. And so I think it's exciting for us to be able to invite Maria up to talk about the mission, to talk about the work, to reintroduce her team at a little bit of a deeper level so you understand how the work moves forward. We'll build on this as we go into the day, because when we start getting into the nitty-gritty of asking and answering some of the questions about process and procedures and whose role and all of that this afternoon, you'll have that backdrop and a little bit more, hopefully, understanding of how it all works together. So can we just give a standing ovation to our Executive Director, Maria Salines?
Stand here, but everybody has our mission, and I'm going to try to get us back on agenda. So I'm going to
don't worry about that.
Okay. So basically, just so everybody understands the dynamic of what we've been doing. In 2006, Carol Goss pretty much launched off a $100 million 10-year initiative. And so it ends in 2016, just so everybody understands where we're at. So we're halfway through this. We're a little over halfway through this. What we've been able to do at the beginning stages was have these big meetings, get a lot of residents to come to these big meetings, and to come up with certain things. The certain things that we came up with, number one, was a mission, what you have in front of you. So if you look at your mission, so this is over 6 years ago, people. Being in the middle of this, keep an open mind that it's okay to stop, look, and tweak. And that's where we're at right now. We're at the point of stopping, looking, and tweaking. Why? Because 6 years ago, we didn't have some of the things in place that we have now. And 6 years ago, we really weren't at the, economically, our city wasn't going through the phase it's going through now. So we really have to rethink how we want to move forward doing this work. And that's okay. We should be doing this. If we're smart, and we are, That's why we're here. So if you look at our mission, it's very important. Our mission of Congress to communities of Southwest Detroit neighborhoods. Just to let you guys know a little history too, at the beginning of this, we used to be called Verner. So it took 4 months of the task force. That was the beginning. We had a whole year of what I call difficult conversations, where we got together, probably a team of about 25 people. They weren't a board of directors, they were what called a task force. It was all the natural leaders that came out of all the thousands of voices. So you have to remember, at the beginning stages of this, Skillman used to have these huge meetings with 300, 350 people at Our Lady Queen of Angels. I don't know if anybody ever got to go to those meetings. And at that time, and this is all being documented, so this is kind of like a research pilot test also. All these voices came in, they had to do this process. And the first thing was, what is it that you want? What is it that you want to be? What is it that you want as far as a vision and a mission? And they started off with like 20 ideas. People would break off. It was phenomenal. There would be facilitators. There would be voting machines. There would be scribers. I mean, they would put some big money into these meetings. Out of that, so you got to remember, you're representing thousands, tens of thousands of voices. And I do say tens of thousands of voices in Southwest Detroit because it literally is. So the work that you do isn't just your neighbor, it's half of Southwest Detroit that has come out and brought this up. They narrowed it down to, out of 20, 10, another meeting 5, and then at the end we came up with our mission. And this is very important. Our mission Congress to communities of Southwest Detroit neighborhood, which was also renamed from Verner, because it was not practical. And people blame Skillman and say, well, Skillman put Verner on us, that wasn't right, they were all mad, you know. And at the end of the day, it was a name that was put onto the project, and it really wasn't nobody's fault. But the community came up with a name that was more practical for them, that would actually represent the 48217 area, Delray, Springwoods Village, and Mexican Town. And it became Congress of Communities Southwest Detroit neighborhoods. It's very important. It's to provide leadership and facilitate collaborations of residents, youth, and stakeholders to foster a vibrant and sustainable community. We have, out of the 6 neighborhoods, the smallest mission out of everybody. And there was a reason for that. Because it's if you look halfway down, we're doing that. If you think about it, I mean, that leadership part, you know, and residents and youth and stakeholders, for what? Just to really foster, to build up, to make a sustainable community that will be vibrant. And I really do believe that we're at that point halfway through that we are abiding by our mission. You know, we're creating the leadership. You know, what is our goal going this whole year? It's about leadership development. We've been very clear about that, and I want to be very clear to the board. I've been coming back at every board meeting. What is 2013 leadership development? What does that mean? That we're going to set up some components to allow that to happen at the resident level, which Dick Kamadi, you know, some of the work that she'll be talking about in a minute, is already happening. We're working with parents. If Anita's part of that, some of the people are part of that. And we're working with the youth. We created the Youth Council. So we're doing that. We're taking a subset of kids and actually just giving them leadership skills, but experiences. Experience of getting them out of the community and showing them something different. We're going to work with the stakeholders. We haven't figured that one out. We're thinking and we're asking for some guidance through CPL Live because we've done this before under the leadership of NCDI. And what would that look like? It's basically getting the stakeholders, that would be churches and schools and nonprofits together and helping them to understand how we want them, the residents, how the residents want them to do the work in their community, and how we envision them working as partners and being sensitive and collaborative and transparent on what they do for the residents. So remember that, always, 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 we will always lead with resident in front of everything. Why do we do this? Projects, programs, and initiatives go away, but residents stay. And that's the only sustainable thing that we got. If we're smart, that's what we will uplift. We will uplift our residents. Absolutely, we need our stakeholders. We absolutely need our stakeholders, and we absolutely need our youth. But if we don't have our residents, we're not going to have youth. So that's really important, so everybody understands that our mission, I think we're doing a heck of a job, that we are abiding by our mission. It's short. I mean, some of the missions in some of these neighborhoods are long, and you know, and I'm really proud to say that we are abiding by our mission, and we're getting to it. I want to at this point talk about our work a little bit. So, at the beginning stages of